never say die!
Welcome back, Adrenalheads. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jayme.
And we have Jayme this week. So a lot of you listeners that have been listening to Panels to Pixels, Jayme was on there with myself and started off in her podcast journey. So she chose this movie, and it's going to be Goonies 1985. So it's such a great movie that was written by Christopher Columbus. He wrote Gremlins and Young Sherlock Holmes, as well as directed Adventures in Babysitting, Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, Bicentennial Man, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And the story was written by Stephen Speilberg, and we all know who Stephen Speilberg is. If you don't, you've been living under a rock for about over 40 years. This movie was directed and produced by Richard Donner of Superman the Movie fame and various other films that Dick Donner has done, and he loves it when his friends or fans call him Dick, not Richard. So, and my favorite of his personally is the Richard Donner version of Superman 2, which you could get on DVD and Blu-ray, by the way. So we're going to move right into the synopsis of this film. So, this is such an iconic movie. I can't see many people not knowing what the Goonies is.
Right. Everybody has to have seen this.
It came out in 1985. And I'm pretty sure any Generation Xer, anybody who is a millennial, which was born from, I guess, the late 80s and moved on. And then you got the Zennials, and even baby boomers would know this movie as well, or had kids and, brought them up on the Goonies. And I think it happens with every generation. It never ends because this movie is so iconic. So the synopsis of what I got off of IMDb. The synopsis of the movie is an old-fashioned yarn about a band of adventurous kids who take on the might of a property developing company which plans to destroy their home to build a country club. When the children discover an old pirate map in the attic, they follow it into an underground cavern in search of lost treasure, but come up against plenty of dangerous obstacles along the way. Yes, they do. And, I think the dangerous obstacle mostly was the Fratellis.
I was going to say, there's no mention of the Fratellis in this synopsis. That's like a big omission.
That is the biggest obstacle right there, as well as One-Eyed Willie's traps. But yeah, and that's not giving away anything, everybody, because you've probably already seen this.
If you haven't seen this movie, stop, go watch it, come back and thank us, and then listen to the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, and then get the uncut version, and no, they don't have an uncut version yet. But it is the 36th anniversary of Goonies, so that's why we're doing this. Unfortunately, I wasn't doing Adrenaline Cinema Podcast when it came out to the 35th, so we're doing it now. So, in this particular movie, just like any other movie we cover, there's going to be people we may know within the film. So I'll start off, and the first one right off the bat is lead character Sean Astin. He plays Mikey. And Goonies was his first major film role after a couple of TV movies. And he's the son of John Astin and Patty Duke. You remember him in future films like Whitewater Summer that came out in 1987, Like Father, Like Son in 1987 as well, with Kirk Cameron, I believe. Toy Soldiers, 1991, which I actually enjoy. That had Will Wheaton in it. And Rudy, which he's most popular for, from 1993. And Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movie trilogy as Samwise Gamgee.
I think that might be his most popular one.
Yeah, that is true. But the sport one, everybody remembers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up.
Josh Brolin, who is the son of James Brolin and stepson to Barbra Streisand, which I did not know. You may have seen in other movies after Goonies, such as Thrashin' from 1986, No Country for Old Men, 2007, Grindhouse, Planet of Terror, 2007, awesome movie, True Grit, 2010, Cable in Deadpool 2, 2018, and of course, Thanos in all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yep. Next up, Jeff Cohen. He was more of a child TV actor before Goonies, but Goonies is his only movie role. He continued to do more TV shows as a character actor until 1991. The shows you may have seen him in after Goonies will be Family Ties and Amazing Stories. But Jeff kind of left that, and Jeff is now a lawyer in California representing actors.
And next up is the infamous Corey Feldman.
Does that mean he's more than famous?
I think so. It's kind of hard to have been around in the 80s and not know who Corey Feldman is and the crazy things he's done.
Exactly.
He started his career at the age of 3 for commercials and then moved on to TV shows as characters within such shows as 8 is Enough, Mork and Mindy. His first role was a kid in the museum in the movie Time After Time, which was in 1979, and starred Malcolm McDowell and Mary Steenburgen, but moved on to other roles like Tommy in Friday the 13th, which is my favorite of his roles.
Same here.
And appearances as Tommy in Friday the 13th, Part 5, which he had to do between Goonies and Friday at the same time. It was the first time a child star had to work more than 7 days in a row.
That's a little bit of information that people did not get. And that's actually on a documentary for the Friday the 13th series too, by the way, people. So if you want to go check that out, go ahead.
Definitely check it out if you're interested in Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's been in other movies like Stand By Me from 1986, The Lost Boys from 1987, License to Drive 1988, The Burbs 1989, Dream a Little Dream also 1989. It's been a very busy Corey. Since The Lost Boys, Corey was known as one of the Coreys. Corey Haim and Corey Feldman made a name for themselves within the 80s, and you always had to pick your favorite Corey back in the 80s.
I guess so. I don't know. I was a guy, so I didn't really have a favorite.
Girls had to pick their favorate Corey.
And they were in the Coreys, too. They actually had a TV show, The Coreys, both him and Corey Haim, before Corey Haim passed away. So that's an interesting kind of reality show that you could watch, too. You could probably find it on YouTube. Yeah,
Feldman's definitely gone a little bit off the rails in his adult life.
Yes, he has. But we all love him for it.
Oh, yeah. Somebody let him start a singing career, which was a very, very poor choice.
Well, that was influenced by Michael Jackson, too, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, but his music is not good.
All right. Well, to get off Fell Dog's butt, move on to Kerry Green. And Goonies was Kerry's first movie role. She moved into other films over the years, such as Summer Rental with John Candy, if you'll remember that one. She was the daughter. She always had the headphones on. She also was in Lucas in 1986 with Corey Haim and Charlie Sheen. And then she created a career for herself within TV roles such as Mad About You, Murder, She Wrote, ER, and Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Next up is Martha Plimpton. Goonies was a big break for her career because after Goonies, she has been working in movies and TV. You may have seen her or remember her from movies like Mosquito Coast, 1986 with Harrison Ford, Running on Empty, 1988 with River Phoenix, Parenthood, 1989, Steve Martin and Joaquin Phoenix, Keanu Reeves and Diane Weist, and 200 Cigarettes from 1999.
Yep. Next up is Ki Wai Kwan, or Ki Hai Kwan, as I like to call him. I'd just rather call him Ki. So he got his start in film with the best adventure film series known to man, Indiana Jones and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, playing the legendary Short Round in the film in 1985 alongside Harrison Ford and Kate Capshaw. Now, I know a lot of Indiana Jones fans out there. This is the least of their favorites, but I don't know. I kind of really like this one, but everybody has their choice. But all of them to me are equal except for that
Crystal
last
Skull?
one. That was okay. Lucas got involved too much, but that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's a whole other podcast.
Exactly. I think that's Ben's podcast, so he could do that on Wilhelm. Well, Goonies is his second movie. He has been on TV ever since and has done other work in film behind the scenes with creating movies. So he's more involved behind the scenes now, since pretty much the last thing that he's done within film, which was pretty much Encino Man with Sean Astin. And that was pretty cool because it was just a cameo and it was like, wow, he's older. And he has a new movie coming out in 2021 called Finding Ohana.
And next up is John Matuszak, was an American football defensive lineman in the NFL and has acted in TV and film since leaving football. Goonies is what we all remember him from, playing the fan favorite Sloth, but he's been in other films as well, like Ice Pirates in 1984, One Crazy Summer in 1986, and he continued to work in TV until he passed away in 1989.
Yeah, but we all remember him, and we all remember him, so just remember, hey, you guys!
Yep.
All right, next up would be Robert Davi, an actor who has been working since 1977, so he graced the TV screens with so many characters as a character actor throughout his career. Mostly known in pop culture for Goonies and Die Hard, but Robert has been a mainstay in film and TV over the years that there are way too many titles to put here. So we would have been here all day for another 3 hours. We're not going to do that. Just check out IMDb.
Next up is Joe Pantoliano, yet another great actor with a long list of credits due to his great work since his start in 1973. We all know Joey Pants, as people like to regard him, but here are a few movies and TV shows that you may have seen him in that he is legendary for. Running Scared in 1986, Empire of the Sun in 1987, Midnight Run from 1988, Bad Boys from 1995, of course, The Matrix from 1999, and TV shows like Amazing Stories, Hercules and the Legendary Journeys, and Tacoma FD.
I just started getting into Tacoma FD, and I highly recommend it. It's the same guys who do Super Troopers.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I haven't heard of Tacoma FD, but now I might be in.
Yeah, they have a couple of seasons, I believe. So since the pandemic, they kind of were on a hiatus. They're coming back. So I'm looking forward to catching up and watching all of it. It's hilarious. I get to watch it sometimes on a break from work.
Nice.
Well, last up, that would be Anne Ramsey, and Anne has been working since 1971 from the age of 42 due to her husband, who was an actor, and she got her break in the movie The Sporting Club. It was pretty much like a cameo, but they gave it to her. So ever since then, Anne has been pretty much a character actor based on her look and her voice. She's so unique. Always admired by her coworkers on set for her wonderful personality, which was different than the characters that she actually represents. When you think of Goonies, you remember Anne as Mama Fratelli. Yep. You may also remember her in such movies as Deadly Friend. So she was the neighbor that got hit in the head with the basketball from the first Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And yeah, that's going back a day, so you guys could check that out. That's a B movie. She also was in Throw Mama from the Train in 1987 and Scrooged in 1988. She has also done a lot of character work within TV on various syndicated shows as well. So yeah, anytime I think of Anne Ramsey, I always think Goonies right away, and then I think Throw Mama from the Train when she goes, "He's trying to kill me."
Exactly, those are my two for her. Goonies first, and Throw Mama from the Train second.
All right, so now we're just going to move right along into general thoughts of the movie. So, Jamie, you picked this one out, so you go first.
I have nothing but love for this movie.
Yeah.
I saw it at the exact right time in my childhood. Like, I think I was young enough to think it might still be a real thing. Because kind of like Mikey, like just to have this kid heart and this great adventure that every kid wants to go on and most of us never get to do. I don't remember exactly when I saw it first, and I've seen it, tens of times at least. It was, a sleepover staple, and it's just always been a part of my life. And one of my biggest complaints in life is that no one's made it into an amusement park ride. Very
true. It could be a good water amusement park ride if you think about it.
Yeah.
Good call on that one. I never thought about that, but I always thought about Goonies every time I went to Universal, whether it be in Florida or California. And they always had the Indiana Jones adventure with, where they show Indy going through all these things. It's like a stunt spectacular. I was always hoping that they would come up with something like here for the Goonies, and they could always get kids to play. It's not like they can't. But yeah, that would be great if it was an amusement park ride. So, Dick Donner, if you're listening, please put that out.
Come
We
on.
know it's hard. I know you wanted to put out a sequel.
Amusement Park Ride's way better.
Yeah, and it'll live on. And you could always play Cyndi Lauper music.
I'm down. I'm totally down.
So, well, with me, I have so many fond memories of this movie. And I've seen it so many times over the year. But my favorite memory is when I first saw it. And I was on a vacation with my aunt, my uncle, my cousins. And we had a trailer. And we went to like a trailer park. They drove the van, had the trailer behind it. It's like a camper. And it was a fun-filled, like, 3 or 4 days that we were there. Had fun fishing, swimming in the pool, doing all this. And then one night, my aunt and my uncle said, "Oh, we're going to the movies tonight." It was like a Friday or Saturday. And it was a double feature. Goonies was first, and then European Vacation. Nothing great for 2 13-year-olds. Me and my cousin Anthony were in the front seat, had prime seating. We had a good view. My aunt and my uncle were in the back. My cousin was like in between them, my cousin Amory. And by the time like European Vacation was on, they were dead asleep. but it's like that was one of the movies like, oh, this is PG-13. I guess they realized they're like, holy crap, there's boobies. But that wasn't the reason that I really loved that night. It was like really mostly for Goonies because of the adventure part of it. It really digs down in. I was at that prime age when it came out in 85. I was pretty much the same age as these kids that were in the film. So it meant a lot to me as well. And I've seen it so many times over the years. I own it on, I got it on iTunes. I got it on Blu-ray. I have it on DVD. I have like so many versions that I could use. And I think everyone references this movie, and someone always knows what you're saying or what you're talking about while using quotes within some sort of situation. But I think it's timeless and it's a classic, even though there are so many 80s references within it, though. It's very dated for its time.
Yeah, there's a few things that wouldn't fly if it was made today, but not that much.
Yeah, a lot of kids wouldn't understand it.
Yeah, not that much. Just a few tweaks. I think it'd be okay.
Yeah, and we got feedback, too, from a friend of ours that had taken their son to go see it. Now, mind you, he's 7. And Megan took out her son, so she sent in audio feedback with her son giving his thoughts on the movie. So it might be a little long, but you guys got to listen to it. It's cute.
My brother actually told me today that he doesn't like this movie. So I'm looking for a new brother if anybody wants to apply.
Oh, goodness. Jamie's on the hunt for a new brother, everybody. So just email us, and that's at AdrenalineCinemaPodcast@gmail.com.
The standard's pretty low. No, kidding. Love you, Zach. You're never going to listen to this anyway.
Oh, watch, you will. All right, well, up next, our favorite scenes within the movie. So we'll do one at a time. So, Jamie, you go first.
The whole movie?
That's what I would say, too. From beginning to end, it's a great film. Yeah, but there are definitely key scenes that we do love. So right. What would be one of your key scenes, other than the whole movie?
No, I think my favorite scene, at least this rewatch of it, and the last couple, has been the kiss between Mikey and Andy. Exactly. It's so sweet and like kind of funny. Like, I think he was standing in a hole.
Does he wear braces?
And
Does Bran wear braces?
And then later on, what happened to your braces? And the fact that
Mikey, I'm gonna kill that little. See, we all know the song of this movie.
Yeah. And then the fact that Steph never told Andy what happened. She's like, I think he was standing in a hole. Why don't you kiss with your eyes open next time? It'll be a whole new experience.
Yeah, great lines coming from Arthur Plimpton, though.
Yeah. But it's also like, it's because this is Mikey's story.
Yeah.
When it boils down to it, it's Mikey's story. And, coming of age story. And this is the last chance to be a kid. And one of those transitions from kid to adult-ishhood is your first kiss.
Yeah.
And it wasn't intended for him, but apparently he did a pretty good job based on what she says later.
You gonna what did Andy say? He's gonna break a lot of girls' hearts
If he keeps
when he
kissing
gets
like
older.
that.
And we haven't even gotten to quotes yet.
No. We've spit out like 10 of them already.
Mine would be, it's actually a number one. It's at the very end when Chunk tells Sloth he's going to be coming living with him.
Yes.
It was so heartbreaking, but it was just so, it brings a tear to your eye because it's like Chunk sees Sloth like himself and he is connected and he just wants to take care of him. And that was a really great scene.
Yeah. I mean, those
John,
two...
even though John had the mechanical eye that drooped, you could see in his face that, you know, he had a lot of emotion in there. It was really cool.
And both of them had kind of a rough life, and they...
Oh, yeah.
That's why they bonded so well. Like, they needed each other.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Chunk doesn't take him up on the second part of the balcony at the movie theater, get fake vomit, and just go and drop it. And this is the worst part. Everybody in this theater, they all started puking on each other. Mom, I really love this kid.
That actually is my next part, was like when Chunk's telling his whole story.
Yeah. You know, he was forced to do it by having his hand put in a blender.
But like, you feel bad for him. Like, poor Chunk. You just want to like hug him, except for that one thing that he did, because that's just gross.
Yeah, it is. Next up for me, well, that would be the piano scene when Andy has to play the piano keys and they're all on that little ledge, and it's like I think it's it was like, what did she say, C flat or whatever. It's like, if you don't get the right note, we'll all be flat. the cute cues within this, but it was so fantastic to see it. You know, there was a green screen behind it, and then it just collapsed and falls away. They're all holding each other up, and just the amazing part of, you know, them going through that big, huge skull. You know, I'll just say it. I just love all the booby traps. Booby traps.
Booby traps. I didn't see any boobies.
It's like, Data, where are you going? I'm putting out booty traps. You mean booby traps? That's what I said. Oh, you guys. But yeah, those scenes themselves, you know, it's like his Pinterest apparel, you know, all that cool stuff.
And the fact that like kids can go through these, you know, adult set traps and get through them. I always love that. Like, you know, adults would die or have died trying, because we saw some of the skeletons, but the kids can do it because kids. Yeah,
they found Chester Copperpot and they realized, it's like, wait, if he was an expert and he died, what's gonna happen to us? Yeah, it's like, oh no.
The best thing about kids movies is like kids think of things differently than adults, and they can get through things that adults can't.
Very true.
In movies, at least.
Outside of the box.
They do. They definitely do. My next one is just Data. I mean, some people might see it as a little racist by today's standards, and I don't know that I can argue that point too much. But he's adorable and bumbling and brilliant at the same time. And I've always been impressed with all of his inventions, whether they worked properly or not. The fact that a kid came up with them and created them, it was, and then...
Well, he got that from his father, too.
Yeah, well, you learn at the end, yeah.
Yeah, he got that from his father, and the one thing he couldn't do is, I don't know if it was, I think it was in the deleted scene. And I highly recommend you guys get the Blu-ray, or if not, get the Apple iTunes version of the movie. They have a bunch of deleted scenes. There's this one when they get to the rocks, and they figure out where the restaurant is based on an old map and a new map. So he's trying to get the binoculars out, and the thing just explodes on him at the last second. So it's so cute. And at the very end, you do see the father. He does the same thing, but the camera comes out the front, which is kind of stereotypical if you think about it.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of 80s. I mean,
stereotypes,
stereotypical racism. Like it was thought of as innocent at the time, perhaps.
Nowadays, it would be, people would think about it a little bit differently. Yeah. Next one for me, that would be the battle on the ship.
Yes.
battling the ship with the kids and the Fratellis. And it's like, oh, you walked the plank. It's like, no, leave her alone. No, no, no. And then he tackles her. They go in the water. They get a kiss. Mouse starts shoving in all the jewels and everything in his mouth. Hence why he has the name Mouth, because they were amazed of how much he could put into his mouth.
Oh, Corey.
Kept spitting them out. Oh my God. Oh. And he's like, she's pulling like a whole keychain or a chain with a watch on it. But yeah, that one, just the coordination within it, especially with the kids. And at the very end of that scene, you see Sloth come in and, hey, you guys. And then he just pulls his shirt apart and you see the Superman shirt.
Yep, that's one of my favorites is the Chunk Sloth entrance. That's one of my, I've always wanted to do that. I even sailed on a tall ship, like, a ship that had those sails. And I'm like, can we, I asked the captain, I'm like, all right, at the end of the thing, can we do the Goonies entrance down the thing? Like, would that actually work? He's like, 1, it's not going to work. And 2, no, those sails are more expensive than you.
Well, a good question. No, you don't know until you ask.
Right? The
It's like, I got my knife ready, sir.
I had to have my knife ready. You always had your knife on you on the boat. You never know when you need to cut a line.
Or that, or there's a pirate that comes on board and you got to take care of him.
I learned
he's got one eye.
I learned how to climb to the top of the rigging just so that I could slide back down, and nobody let me.
Yeah.
So I guess that was technically my next one because I just kind of jumped on the end of yours because.
Oh, well, we're just talking casually about this, but the one that really touched me too is Mikey when he talks to One-Eyed Willie when he finds him with all the riches.
Yep, that one's on mine too.
Yeah, and the fact that he, I forget who it was that was going to take it out of the pot.
Data.
But that was Data, and he goes, "No, leave that. That's for Willie."
Yeah, that and the fact that
first Goonie.
Yeah, and. Since watching Harry Potter, the fact that there's a link between this and Sorcerer's Stone, it always those two scenes always link. Where again, it's a trope of a kids movie where only the kid would be able to get this. So Harry gets the Sorcerer's Stone, spoilers, in his pocket.
Man, I didn't watch it yet. Sorry.
Yeah. Harry gets the Sorcerer's Stone in his pocket because the only person who could get it was someone who wanted it but not to use it. And then the same thing, being respectful of Willie, something that only a kid is going to do because. They're the one, Mikey has that connection to Willie, and that's what ends up saving the people in both movies. Those scenes always linked to me.
Yeah.
And then also when they see that ship for the first time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that scene always takes my breath away. I don't know. I don't care how many times I've seen it.
They used a real ship, and that's what blows my mind. And I think you could see that ship too. They actually have it docked somewhere. And this was filmed in Colorado, so I think it's still out there. And a lot of people go to the where Mikey and Brand's house is, because it was an actual real house that they used. And people do tours in that area for it. So if you guys are really big Goonies fans, check that out.
And
I'm sure Lyra's going to say something about it. Hopefully she does. She sent in feedback. I haven't listened to it.
There's also the beach. My cousin doesn't live that far from the beach, so she's always taking pictures of her dog with the Goonies rock in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. Yeah. I always wanted the bloom.
Yes.
I always wanted one of those. What else was I thinking of? Oh, when they, the whole intro to the very beginning, obviously with Chunk and doing the truffle shuffle, the whole convoluted fence scene. They finally get into Mikey's house. They're making a mess of everything. Of course, Chunk knocks over Mom's favorite statue and they put the penis on upside down and Mom doesn't even notice. And then they glue it on upside down. Yep. And they glue it on upside down, and Brand goes, he goes, if God made you use it like that, you'd be peeing in your face. And then, then they have to take down a Brand, if you think about it. Well, before that, you get, of course, you got Mouse taking Rosalita around with the mom and telling her all the wrong things in Spanish about the house because they have to pack everything up. And it's like, this store is for cocaine. This one's for marijuana.
Well, now they are hours away from this house being torn down and nobody's packed a box. Nope. Nobody?
Nope. Which is so funny.
my kind of procrastination.
I would do the same thing. But then they have to tie Brand down, so they use his exercise springs to hold him strapped to the chair.
Another 80s thing. I don't think those things exist anymore. I think they only existed in the 80s.
Sweatbands and the headband that he was wearing, and the typical, they undo his tires so that it lets all the air out of his tires. He goes, oh, well, I forget how many lawnmower jobs he had to get to make that. So what kid today do you know has a lawnmower job where they have to save up money for that? The other movie that references something like that would be Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah.
As well. But I just find the humor in it. And of course the kids, at that time I was into BMX and all that stuff. And I was, a paper boy, and I had my BMX bike, and I would have the thing slung around my shoulders and everything. And, I could just reference that and feel that when I first saw that. And it's like, oh, they're like me, and they do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
The last one is just the ending and just how perfect it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you think everything failed, but then there's the jewels. And then the one that struck me on this watch that I don't know ever struck me before was how completely perfect each set of parents is for their kid. Like, we talked about Data's parents, but every parent was just so, you saw how the kid was the way the kid was when you met their parents.
Very true. Yeah, yeah. It never dawned on me before. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and like I said, this watch was the first time.
You're a mom, so you should know.
I think that's why it jumped out at me this time, was because I am a mom now. So it, seeing how the parents and their influence on the kids and all that, it was really well.
The children reflect the parents.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I got to look at that again now. But yeah, I did enjoy that. And like I said, this movie is such a classic, and we could go over and over again. And it does show, like we said before, we were saying throughout this whole time, it is dated. Even to the music video that Cyndi Lauper did, where you got all the wrestlers in there. Roddy Piper, Andre the Giant, the Iron Sheik, all of them. Captain Lou Albano. And all these people, it's hilarious too to watch that. And then you see the kids and they meet up with Cyndi. You can still find it online. And actually it's on the Blu-ray as well as on the iTunes. So I suggest, checking that out. So obviously you could probably find it for like $12, $13 on iTunes. So I highly recommend getting that. But the best callback to an 80s reference, we're all talking about you get an all-wheel drive vehicle now. Back then, if you got like an ORV, off-road vehicle, they don't call those that anymore.
Yeah. Well, back then, my dad had a four-wheel, we just called it a four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And it was a Blazer. It was a Chevy Blazer. And we'd go on vacation to the beach, and we would take the car out on the beach. And because it was a truck, but we were one of like when we go out on the beach, it was us, like 3 other families, and the rest was fishermen, because nobody had 4-wheel drive cars and nobody could get out that far on the beach with their thing. So it was like
without getting stuck.
Yeah, it was this really cool club to be in when I was like a kid. And nowadays,
it's common.
Everybody's got a 4-wheel. I got a 4-wheel drive, but everybody's got a 4-wheel drive. Everybody can get on the beach, but it was like an isolated little patch that we had, and like by noon all the fishermen left, so it was just like the 4 families with the kids, and that was just us hanging out every summer.
That's cool. Yeah. Regardless of it being dated, it still to me holds up in a sense of from my memories of a kid. But I think the kids today would probably appreciate how funny and quirky the kids are.
Yeah.
And distinct their personalities are, like Mouth, Data, Mikey. Even if you look at Steph. And it's funny, too, because they always present her as being, like, four-eyed and nerdy. And, she takes her glasses off. And Martha Plimpton actually was, when she was very young, very pretty. Yeah. It's just that they kind of dumbed down her looks, if you think about it. And then she's moved on to a career of her own, too. She's a mother, and she has done, I forget the name of the show. Was it The O'Connors or something? I forgot. Not The O'Connors. I thought I put it in not before, but... Regardless, she's been around a long time, and she's grown into her own career. And it's so funny too that the one thing I found funny when her introduction in the movie is she's jumping into like kind of one of those big containers, and she's grabbing a lobster. What was she doing? Did her parents have a business that we don't know of?
It might have been. Yeah, I don't know. I never thought about that. I do love the intro, how you meet everybody in
their course of events. Mouth is helping his father with a sink, and he goes, "Did the water go down, son?" And he's underneath, and then he turns something. No, it has right in his face. And then, of course, Chunk's somewhere, and he's got like in a window, and he smashes his nuts. They all have their own quirky things of introductions. And that was the really cool thing, because it was literally just watching the Fratellis at that point, because it's Fratelli's chase from the police throughout that time. Yeah. And that was an ORV, and they were on the beach, as you said, because there was a race on the beach, as I remember or recall. Wow. I think we talked a lot about our favorite stuff on this show.
Because I think we've mentioned pretty much every scene, because the whole movie is great.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we'll just move right along right into interesting facts and unknown facts about the movie The Goonies from 1985. So first off, The Goonies was mostly shot on location in Oregon. Okay. So The Goonies shot almost entirely in sequence in Astoria, Oregon, on a 5-month shooting schedule. Other locations like tunnels and the cave with One-Eyed Willie's pirate ship were shot on a massive sound stages in Burbank, California. So they had to do that whole sliding thing in the waterway and a soundstage.
They have the stuff built. They could just make an amusement park, right?
Exactly.
Right. Goonies marked Josh Brolin's movie debut. Josh Brolin, who would later star in films like No Country for Old Men and Milk, for which he earned a Best Supporting Actor nomination, and become a comic book movie staple with the Deadpool and the Avengers movie, made his feature film debut playing Brand in The Goonies.
Yes, he did. And he actually reprised his character on an Instagram with his wife when he dressed up as Brand for like a dress-up party or something.
Yeah, I think it was Halloween or something. That was hysterical. That was so funny.
Yeah, and it looks so cool, and it's pretty cool that you could poke fun at that. At least he didn't go as Cable or something. Can't really go as Thanos, otherwise he'd be purple all over. All right, next one up. In one scene, Sean Astin accidentally calls Josh Brolin by his real name. And I realized this when I first saw the movie. I'm like, that's Brand, not Josh. And I was in a van watching this on a drive-in.
I've never picked up on that.
I have. In a small goof, Sean Astin, who plays Mikey, calls Josh Brolin by his actual name, not by his character's name, in the scene after Chunk breaks the water cooler in the basement of the abandoned restaurant. Because you hear it in the background. It's like, come on, Brand, please. Josh, please. And I'm like, okay.
Jeff Cohen, who plays Chunk, is still in the movie business, but not as an actor. I think we mentioned this before. That was his only film role, or his feature film role, and he is now a lawyer and a founding partner at an entertainment law firm. So he's out there looking out for actors.
Exactly. Sean Astin's One-Eyed Willie speech was technically improvised. Now, this is pretty cool to learn. To get more of a naturalistic performance out of Astin in the scene in which he tells his fellow Goonies about the legend of One-Eyed Willie, Donner had the child actor improvise in an offbeat way. Donner simply told Astin the story moments before they shot and had the actor tell it back to him as best he could with cameras rolling. Now that is awesome.
That is really cool. All right. The treasure map was speckled with real blood. Production designer J. Michael Riva thought that the prop treasure map looked too new. So to make it look more than 300 years old, he spent an afternoon aging it. After pouring coffee in the map, he wanted to add blood, but the prop department was out of paint. In a quick bit of improvisation, Riva cut his finger and dripped his own blood along the edges.
Now, if anybody has a copy of that map itself, send it my way. That's cinematic history. Next off, Sloth was an actual tough guy. So John Matuszak, who played Sloth, was the first overall pick in the 1973 NFL draft and won 2 Super Bowls with the Oakland Raiders before turning to acting. As a nod to Matuszak's former team, Sloth can be seen wearing a Raiders t-shirt early in the movie. So that's a little bit of cool things.
I love stuff like that. Sloth's Superman t-shirt is a nod to Richard Donner. At the end of the movie, Sloth triumphantly rips his vest and other shirt off to reveal a Superman t-shirt underneath, which works well within the context of the scene, but also serves another purpose. It's an inside joke about the director, Richard Donner, who rose to fame after directing Superman, the movie, in 1978.
That it is. It took a long time for John Matuszak to become Sloth, so the makeup artist needed 5 hours every morning to transform the football star into Sloth.
Sloth loves Errol Flynn. The pirate movie Sloth watches while chained in the basement is the 1935 Errol Flynn adventure, Captain Blood.
Yep, that's an actually good movie, too.
It is.
Next up, the Fratellis' Love Opera. The song that Jake Fratelli first sings to Sloth and then to Chunk before he's captured is from Giacomo Puccini's Madame Butterfly.
Which I knew that, and I've actually seen that one.
And I'm not going to improvise Robert Davi singing Off the I cannot do that because I don't know the words.
You did enough. You made me happy. Chester Copperpot may or may not have been a veteran actor. Though it's uncredited in the movie, the photo of Chester Copperpot is alleged to be of American actor Keenan Wynn. Wynn was originally cast as Perry White in Donner's Superman movie before dropping out due to exhaustion.
Interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I gave him another job. It was just in a picture. Well, the bats in the underground caves were created using some movie trickery. So the bats were actually just bow ties and wads of black paper mache blown out of air cannons.
Wow.
So I guess if you really want to scare kids on Halloween, you could do that.
Just get yourself an air cannon. The Goonies takes place in the same universe as Gremlins. Believing Chunk is pranking him over the phone again, the police officer Chunk talks to recalls one of Chunk's stories about little creatures that multiply when you pour water on them, which is a reference to the movie Gremlins. Stephen Speilberg was an executive producer on both films, and screenwriter Chris Columbus wrote both movies as well. Corey Feldman also appeared in both movies.
Yep. Great connection. Steven Spielberg directed a few scenes in the Goonies, so this has always been speculated. Everybody always thought he had more of a hand in it, but he was always on set. So in addition to serving as executive producer and receiving a story by credit, Spielberg also secretly directed the scene in which the Goonies bang on the underground pipes, as well as the wishing well scene, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the wishing well scene.
I'm going to take them all back. This wish is mine.
The slide at the end of Goonies was real. The slide, again, need to make it into an amusement park ride.
I agree.
The slide the Goonies ride to get to the cave with One-Eyed Willie's ship was a fully functioning water slide. The end credit thank Lanford Surf Coaster Corporation for building it. Donner and the crew would allegedly sneak in after filming wrap for the day to ride the slide. Heck yeah, I would do the same thing.
Same here. That was definitely an official water slide that you had seen in a water park. And it had to have been fun.
I don't know. I grew up going to action parks, and the fact that I lived is just something.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've never been to Action Park. I was always asking to go. My parents said no.
And apparently, my school would even take us. We went on school trips there.
But you were all the way up in the Hudson Valley, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that far. It's Jersey.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you have a hop, skip, and a jump. For me, yeah, I was in Staten Island at the time. But, yeah, my parents would always say it's too far away. I don't know why. But we would always go to Six Flags.
Which was further.
And, yeah, and I guess it was tamer, in their opinion.
Well, yeah, Action Park, I got hurt every single time I went there, and everybody did. That place was terrible.
There's a nice documentary about that.
Yeah, highly recommend that.
Yeah, I watched it. I was like, wow, that's wild. All right, well, to continue on, the Goonies' reaction to One-Eyed Willie's ship is genuine. So Donner denied the child actors access to the massive soundstage where a full pirate ship was built. So the scene in the final movie features their genuine reactions seeing it for the first time. The ship took 2 months to build and was supposed to resemble Errol Flynn's ship from the film The Seahawk. And like I said, they still have this ship available. I forgot where it's located. I thought it was in Colorado. Apparently I'm wrong. So my suggestion is if you guys are really interested in it, go look. Yeah, it's always fun to go to filming locations and see where they're done. And like I said, there was a YouTuber that actually went to Mikey and Brand's house. And the people there were nice. They were allowed to like look and take pictures and stuff like that. And
That's cool.
And it's a majority of where they filmed in that area. And apparently the people are really cool. But obviously they don't have that whole elaborate thing to get to the front door like they did for Chunk.
If I lived in that house, I think I might have to build one of those.
Yeah.
All right. Corey Feldman's character was called Mouth for a reason. Not only was Corey Feldman's character appropriately named because he talked a lot, but the name fit for another reason. The scene where Mama Fratelli pulls the jewels out of Mouth's mouth was shot in one take, with Feldman managing to fit all of the jewels in his mouth at once.
Yeah, I mentioned that, but that's funny. It's like just one take, though.
That is crazy.
Well, he's got a hidden talent. Next one up, Data mentions a scene that was cut from the movie. Sharp-eared viewers will notice that Data mentions that the octopus was very scary to the reporters at the end of the movie. So no scenes involving an octopus are in the final cut of the movie. The line refers to a deleted scene that involved Steph and Mouth getting attacked by an octopus after they flee One-Eyed Willie's ship. So you could definitely see this deleted scene. It's on the iTunes purchase.
It's also on YouTube. You should be able to find it on YouTube.
And it's on YouTube as well, and on the Blu-ray as well. I believe it's for the 35th anniversary. It could be. I don't know. I bought one recently, like last year, 2 years ago, something like that. One of the anniversaries, I bought it. And I had seen it for the first time then, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. For the fact that they should have kept it in there.
Right?
And the scene, to describe it, literally, it's like Steph is walking, Mouth is behind her. She's feeling something grab her butt and her leg. Mouth, would you stop it? Then she slugs Mouth, and then Mouth falls, and then he gets up, and I'm not sure if it was behind him or her that the octopus comes up, but it's a giant octopus. And they're all getting caught in the arms and tentacles, and I think by the mouth, I think Data puts a Walkman into its mouth. So it's so cute, but they should keep it, and they should really edit it into the movie as a director's cut, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially because they forgot to cut out Data's mentioning it.
Exactly. It's like, oh, okay, well, we missed that scene. Can we see it?
Yeah. I mean, they could have gotten away if Chunk said it because they've, made him a liar all along, but.
Yeah. Last up.
All right. June 7th is Goonies Day. The mayor of Astoria, Oregon, named June 7th Goonies Day in honor of the movie, and the town hosts an annual celebration. So if you want to go check out the scenes, it looks like you should go to Oregon on June 7th. might be your time to go check everything out.
Yeah, very much. There's one place that, what is it, in Pennsylvania where they do the Blob Day?
Yes, it's in Phoenixville, which is right down the road from me. And it's at the Colonial Theater.
Yeah. So a lot of places do this, and I really enjoy when they do these things. And it's funny how we're recording this literally 7 days after, so it's June 14th. But it's Goonies month.
It's Goonies month.
And you'll literally see a lot of Goonies within the month of June because it's so celebrated, because it's the anniversary of it. So if you haven't watched it again, get your kids together, introduce them to the movie, or just get a popcorn night. Come on. If it's a rainy night. Obviously tonight was raining for us, so it's been kind of wet and nasty.
I've missed my house. Other people I talked to tonight got slammed, and I've gotten nothing, so I got to go water my plants later.
Well, I got watered all day today. But, yeah, it's a cool popcorn flick, so I suggest it to all the parents out there.
Yeah, it's such a great movie.
All right, well, even though I've been putting in all these quotes as we go, let's move on to quotes.
I have at least one left that we didn't mention.
Okay.
When Mrs. Walsh says, "I would really like the house clean when they tear it down." That would be my mother. I don't care that they're tearing it down. It needs to be clean.
That is pretty cool.
That always reminded me of my mother.
One that I love is from Brand himself he's saying it to Mikey. He goes, it's after they, tied him up with his exercise equipment and goes, "I'm going to hit you so hard when you wake up, your clothes will be out of style."
I love that one.
That still works.
Yes.
that quote still works because clothes do still go out of style. They might come back into style, but they go out of style. Maybe you could just turn that around. When I hit you so hard, you wake up, your clothes will be coming back into style. So that'll be decades.
All right. One of my favorite with Chunk, other than the Truffle Shuffle, would be, "Okay, Mouth, that's all I can stand, and I can't stands no more." And then he goes to attack.
Yep. All right. Oh, yeah, Steph. I just love this one. "I feel like I'm babysitting, but I'm not getting paid."
And
always with a quick wit, too, with her.
Surprisingly, we didn't mention this one. Goonies never say die.
Yep.
And then Steph also adding to that, "But I'm not a Goonie and I want to go home."
One that I love from Chunk is he's running away because he finally gets away and he's crawling up through the forest and everything to get up to the street. And before the Fratellis get to him, he goes, "I love the dark, but I hate nature. I hate nature." Anything else?
That we covered all of mine.
Oh, well, we could go over the classics. So, Sloth, "Hey, you guys!" And, of course, the line with Data saying and mispronouncing booby traps as booty traps. Mikey also pronounces curator as the new assistant Curly or Kearney. And Mrs. Walsh says Hari Krishna instead of Hari Carey. Yeah. Depends because they have it spelt here when I got it off there. Harakiri. I don't know if that's the popular pronunciation, but I usually say Harakari.
Yeah, that's how I've heard it too.
Or Harry Carey.
Harry Carey's.
I don't think Harry's like to be called Harry though.
No, I think that's an Americanized version of it.
I think so too. All right. Last one would be Mikey saying, "Nah, I was just trying to delete myself." No. Dictate myself. And Bran pauses while working out and just to correct him saying, "That's delude yourself, dummy." Mikey agrees. "That's what I said."
I like that comes up a lot, and then the mom does it once or twice too.
Yeah. And there's one part where it's like I don't know if Corey Feldman was rattling off the words really fast, but it was about Chunk and how he ate his weight at something pizza, and I could never understood it. I never understood it over the years until I had the subtitles on. I don't have it written down, but it's so funny. You got to watch it. It's like that whole speech because they had a lot of dialogue for all these kids, and you could tell they were cracking each other up throughout the whole shooting of this. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right. Well, that was pretty much our coverage and our thoughts of the Goonies. So with that, we're going to rate this movie from 1 to 10 on adrenaline scale. So what's your rating?
All right. If I'm watching it with 80s eyes, it's totally a 10. Totally a 10. I love everything about this movie because, yeah. If I'm watching it with now eyes, then it's a 9.5 because there are a few dated things, and we talked about the issues with data, and I mean, you could also call some of the stuff they did to Chunk bullying. So
yeah, that was bullying if you think about it. Yeah.
So I'll knock it down to 9.5 or 9 with watching with modern eyes.
Yeah, well, that's how I thought of it too. So I rated it 9 out of 10 for an 80s family PG-13 family adventure film. So it's pretty good. It's high up there. Come on. It's not like I'm giving it a 6 or a 5.
Right.
All right, that's cool. I love those ratings. And next up, well, we are going to talk about our guilty pleasure movies. So that could be any movie that are not popular or just great for you, but not everybody is a big fan of it. Might have had a really bad IMDb rating or Rotten Tomatoes score, or you just say it to a friend and go, and they say that movie sucks, but you just love it. But yeah, apparently, according to other people, that you're guilty of it, but who cares? These are the movies that you love. They're just usually unknown films for the most part. So what you got?
Mine's not super unknown, but it always falls. To me, this is my first thought when I think guilty pleasure movie, and that is They Live.
Oh, yeah.
1988. It's like the best popcorn sci-fi horror movie. It written by John Carpenter, and then it's got Roddy Piper, just because that's the cheese factor, and magic sunglasses. So,
yeah, that shows you the truth of the world on billboards and everything, and people with acid face.
And one of my favorite movie lines ever.
Oh,
I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Yep. One of my favorite films, too. I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, so that's part of the threesome trilogy that he had, that he was... they were all low-budget films, so it was They Live, Big Trouble in Little China, and The Prince of Darkness. He had to do those 3 movies before he could get a big-budget film underway from a particular movie company. So he had to put those out pretty quickly under X amount of time. I'm forgetting what movie, though, that I remember those 3 and not the other film that he did. Maybe it was Ghost of Mars. Who knows? But yeah, I definitely recommend that movie to anybody who's interested. Well,
it's definitely cheesy 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. It has its cheese moments, but I just enjoy it too.
I always enjoy that movie. I used to belong to a gym that had a movie theater in it. And like one of my first weeks belonging to that gym, they played They Live, and I just treadmill the whole movie.
I'm staying right here.
Yep.
Oh, cool. Well, mine, that would be a movie called Munchies from 1987. Now, it's a really low budget film that is loosely based like Gremlins. So, the story is about an archaeologist that finds a new creature in a cave in Peru. Then he brings it back home, and his evil twin brother steals the creature. But he doesn't realize, the evil twin brother doesn't realize that if you chop up the creature, it multiplies and they are extremely evil.
Oh.
And oddly enough that we're doing this, we're recording this and it's Monday, June 14th. The Grim Life Collective actually did a watch party this past Saturday, which I missed out on watching this movie.
Oh,
so it's got to be on YouTube. So my recommendation, you could still follow the Grim Life Collective and do the watch party with them. You just have to have 2 YouTubes up and you can hear their discussion of the movie, or they just go on their rants like they usually do. I love when Michael and Jessica do that. But this movie, when I saw them posted, I'm like, are you kidding me? And I said, that was my guilty pleasure for the Goonies podcast we're doing. And Michael was like, are you kidding me? And he goes, I didn't think anybody knew this movie.
I'll be honest, I didn't know this movie.
Yeah, it's hard to come by. It's very hard to find. And I remember it when it came out. I saw it on cable. It's when you got HBO and Cinemax and throughout the day, and they had to play something stupid because they had to fill that time slot. And I just sat down, I was watching, I was like, what is this movie? I like this movie. Why? Why is that little animal getting cut up? Oh, he multiplied. Why is he drinking a beer? Oh, he's looking up the woman's skirt. Okay. What is with this movie? It's cute. It's definitely not a kid's movie, so it's not Gremlins where it's PG-13, but you could watch it. And I believe Harvey Korman is in it. So it's got that humor, but it's more of adult humor. All right, so we got some audio feedback from our friend Megan. So we're going to listen along and hear what Megan has to say and her son.
I listened to part of this already. It's adorable.
Okay.
All right, so Harrison, some of my friends are doing a podcast this weekend about the movie that we just watched, The Goonies. They're going to be recording like their thoughts about it and talking about what was cool and what they liked. So they wanted people to send in comments, and I told them we were coming to watch it tonight, and this was the first time you would ever see it. So I want to hear your movie review of The Goonies, okay? And a whole bunch of my friends and other people are going to listen, so tell us what you think.
I think it was really good. I really like the part where they say bad words. Like, it's really interesting for me. Like, bad words are a big thing for me. So when I always make a like sound, like a sound like kind of like that. So I think it was pretty good. Like, the best part was when they said the bad words, but yeah, it was pretty good.
Can we please focus on something other than the shockingly high number of bad words that Daddy and I forgot existed in the movie?
Like, I also liked it when the boy lifted up the patch from One-Eyed Willie and saw that he only had one eye.
Okay. Anything else that you thought was interesting or cool?
Well, there were probably a lot of other things that I liked too, but I couldn't think of everything. These are the only things I thought of for now. But yeah, I really liked it. Like, it was pretty interesting.
Did you like the pirate ship?
Yeah, I liked it when the newsman saw the pirate ship and recorded it. Like, that was pretty cool.
Okay. Oh, there's a kitty crossing the road in front of us. Okay. Do we want to ask Daddy what he thought?
Yeah.
What part made you laugh the loudest?
Harrison, what part made you laugh the loudest?
I don't know.
I think we remember what it was, don't we, Dad?
Bad word!
It wasn't just the bad words. It was something where he really laughed. What was it for us?
I can't remember.
Oh, no. It was something like potty humor oriented, wasn't it?
Oh, was it when the guy got blown off the toilet and he smashed up into the ceiling?
Was that it for Harrison?
Alright, I guess that was the best part.
Troy got blown off the toilet. That was the part you laughed a lot, wasn't it? Did you like... Who was your favorite character in the movie?
Seeing One-Eyed Willie.
Seeing One-Eyed Willie?
Hey, Harrison, did
His dead skeleton.
Harrison, did Mikey look familiar at all to you?
What?
You remember Mikey, the one kid?
The actor who played Mikey.
Did he look familiar to you because you saw him somewhere else?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Mikey was the main kid, the one that really cared about finding the treasure, and he had the inhaler and stuff. Yeah? Okay.
You mean the guy in the orange coat?
I don't remember what color he had on, but the main kid, right?
He was the one that saw One-Eyed Willie at the end and lifted the patch up.
Yeah.
And he said, leave that gold, that's Willie's gold. So that actor is the same person who is Samwise Gamgee in Lord of the Rings.
Which you've just been watching.
He's just a lot younger in the Goonies.
What do you think about that?
Really good.
Is your mind blown right now? I guess it's not. All right. Well, thank you, Harrison. Oh, can you say your age and goodbye to everybody?
I'm 7 years old. My name is Harrison Lehman. That's my full name. My phone number is... If you want to call me, I'll agree with that. I don't care. Whatever. Bye. I don't care about this tiny little rentless little thing that we're doing here. Now, bye.
All right. Say bye for us.
I will always remember to disparage whatever rentless little thing we're doing when I think poorly of something.
And it is rentless. So pay your money.
Where did he get this from?
I don't know, but I'm keeping
So
it.
pay off your death and blood spurts of meat strips. So pay off your meat strips for me to eat.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock and I think we broke him.
Birth of speech.
They're not going to play this whole thing. There's no way, but at least they might listen to it and get a laugh. All right. That's the Lehman Family
bye.
Movie Review.
And when you're dead, I want to eat your meat strips.
Apparently, we're cannibals now. All right, I really am going to turn it off. I didn't even get to say what I thought of it, but that's okay. Bye.
7 is a fun age.
Yeah. Wow, Harrison sending out his phone number and everything. All right, well, we got to thank Megan and Harrison and Forrest for doing that. That was fun.
That was
And
fun.
thank you, Harrison, for sending that email out, too. That was amazing. Yeah, that voicemail to us. Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm going to keep my meat strips right where they are.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, we're going to move on, and we're going to listen to Lara's now.
Well, hi there, Mark and Jayme. Hello. Hi. Well, I was 13 years old when the Goonies came out in 1985. I was the movie's target demographic, basically. Old enough to be one of those latchkey kids, free roaming of the 80s, whose parents set them outside to play in the morning and didn't expect them to come home until sunset. But still young enough to experience and totally believe in the wonder of discovering a hidden pirate ship and golden treasure hidden in your own backyard. And like Mikey, I had my gang of neighborhood friends as well as my annoying little brother, whom I spent many a summer day with, devising plans and ways to avoid boredom, without video games, without social media, without YouTube. I know, shocking. And even though we never managed to find quite the treasure trove of secret pathways and booby-trap caverns, not to mention bad guy gangsters or kind-hearted sloth or golden doubloons that Mikey and his gang encountered, the Goonies for me encompassed this zeitgeist of that special time I'm not sure if a 13-year-old today would quite understand it. I know when I tried to show it to my girls, they didn't really care for it that much. And I'm guessing a lot of the humor might be frowned upon today, but for me, this still holds a really special place in my heart. It's a touchstone to my childhood. And as I learned from watching Stranger Things Season 3, I still have a big girl crush on Sean Astin. He is just the sweetest thing. And I'll do it, but I don't think I'm going to do it justice. Hey, you guys!
Awesome.
Okay, see you guys. Thanks for the podcast.
Well, thank you, Lara, for the feedback. That was amazing.
That was so good.
I thought she was going to say Goonies never die.
I thought so too. No, I knew she was going into the hey.
Die.
I knew she was going into the hey, you guys.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks to Megan, Forrest, and Harrison for their audio feedback. Thank you, Lara, for sending that audio feedback as well. So, with that, just for you listeners that are out there and you want to submit your theories and feedback, well, you could go to our Facebook group at facebook.com/AdrenalineCinemaPodcast. We try to post a picture every week of the movie that we're covering. I did this weeks before, so it worked out. So we got a few people. And, literally under the picture and the caption, we'll tell you what we're covering and to leave the your feedback down in the comments below. We could read them. You could also email us at AdrenalineCinemaPodcast@gmail.com. You could record your voice just like Lara and Megan had done and then send that as an attachment. That's how I was able to play it, and that's how I was able to get it. So you can do that as well. Yep. And then you could, or just easily send us a typewritten email if you want. We'll read that just the same, just like in the comments. And where can you listeners tell your friends to listen to? Well, you could hear us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, TuneIn, Deezer, or whatever podcast player of choice. I think there's a ton of them out there. So all they have to do is look for Adrenaline Cinema Podcast under search, and you'll find us. And if there's a review or rating and you or your friend could submit one, it would be really appreciated. So, and to let you know where else we could be heard, well, I could be found on Panels to Pixels on the Next Level Podcast Network, so, or the Next Level Network, as Ben likes to correct. And you can find me at Panels to Pixels Podcast on the Next Level Network. So basically we cover anything that's comic book based that's been adapted to movie, TV, anime. We haven't done much in anime. I think the only thing I really covered was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but I'm open to more stuff to do later on. Hopefully when things slow down. Right now we're in the middle of covering Loki, that's on Disney+. And when Black Widow comes out, we're going to be covering that as well. And just like with that particular podcast, we're going to be doing, when it comes back to Netflix, Another Life with Katie Sackhoff. We're going to cover that particular show here on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. So keep that in mind. If you're a fan of that show on Netflix, we'll be covering Season 2. I might do a brief Season 1 overview. And then just before the Season 2 comes up, we'll go right into it episode per episode. Right now I'm kind of searching for anybody that's interested into covering that with me. And that would be separate, so you might get 2 podcasts a week from Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. So keep that in mind. You can find me on Panels to Pixels Podcast on the Next Level Network. And that's pretty much it. Jamie?
You can find me on the Panels to Pixels podcast with Invincible. Season 1 we have all done, and we're waiting on seasons 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have release dates for those yet.
No, they don't. We looked into it a while ago. We're like, when are they coming out? We want them back.
So
Jamie was cool enough to be on Panels to Pixels podcast and covering Invincible with me for season 1. So she got bit by the podcasting bug. So I kind of did that.
Yep. Only
And
as
you'll
a
be
guest.
on you'll be on another podcast soon too, right?
Well, yeah, I've recorded an episode of Wilhelm with our buddy Ben, which is
Mhm.
a movie-centric podcast that he just talks about movies, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
And then I have plans in the works to be on Scene in the 80s with our friend Damien.
Yep.
Haven't
It's
recorded yet, but
watched it in the 80s.
That's it.
There
Sorry.
you go.
You get the next level wrong.
Yeah.
I get the podcast wrong.
It's okay. It happens all the time. I like to give myself some garbage too about it.
So I'm a floating guest. If anybody needs a floating guest on your podcast, let me know.
Yep, definitely. Give her a shout out. So, yeah, and as Jayme mentioned, watched it in the 80s. So, obviously Watched It in the 80s is part of the Pirate Core Network, and I highly encourage everybody to go to piratecoreentertainment.com, and you can visit our website there. There you could see a lot of all the other content providers for the entertainment network that we have. And right now it's just podcasts. Right now I'm currently looking for other content creators. It could be YouTube, it could be some sort of Instagram, anything regarding. So if you're somebody that's interested in submitting your content or interested in being part of the Pirate Core Entertainment family, all you have to do is just email me at piratecoreentertainment@gmail.com, and we will consider what you're doing. And if we really love what you're doing, we will add you to the family. Obviously, there's not going to be a payment. We don't charge. So literally, it's just us being content creators, supporting each other, and endorsing our family here on the network, and then get people aware of what else is available out there in this world. Just like Kirk Manley, who does our artwork for Pirate Core Entertainment.
He is super talented.
He is. He did the artwork for Panels to Pixels podcast. I might have to hire him soon, and we could do a new one for Adrenaline Cinema Podcast, because I'm still working with an old artwork. And it's barely a year, but I might just do it at the anniversary of the year.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so until then, we'll have that artwork. But like I said, if you or a friend are interested in a content creator, just please contact us at piratecoreentertainment@gmail.com and let us know and give us a sample of what you got. And like I said, we will consider it. So with that was our show. And I just want to thank Jayme for being on and coming up with such a cool movie to cover.
Thanks for having me and letting me talk about one of my favorite movies.
Up next, in the coming week, we will be covering Baby Driver, and that will be with Paik, who you also could hear on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network on Run For Your Lives. And they are, well, I just listened to them do Geostorm. So they cover all those Running For Your Lives kind of movies, those horror movies or big monster movies, things like that. So if you're a big Jurassic Park fan, I highly recommend it. So Paik's going to come on with me for the next podcast, and we're going to be covering Baby Driver, and we'll have a lot of fun with that, because that is an exciting movie to watch. If you really like car chases, amazing. And there's a lot of talented people in there. So until then, I'm Mark.
And I'm Jayme.
And this was Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll talk to you later.